Good evening, everyone. I am just going to wait until I see someone confirm that I'm not having any sound issues. So if someone could just chat and give me you're all good, that would be awesome. I have everything turned up, so I'm hoping I don't have an issue. Let's see. Okay. Just waiting on a confirmation that I can be heard okay before I jump in. And if I don't hear anything, I'll just check again soon. Okay. Well, we have, okay, I see we have more people here. Can someone just tell me if my sound is okay, that you guys can hear me? I turned everything up, so I'm hoping that I don't have any problems tonight. Nothing? Well, I'm just going to keep going then and assume I'm okay. So, case updates here, and I have to give credit where credit is due. There was somebody on Facebook who wrote the perfect summary of where things sit with the Sebastian Rogers case this morning. So I'm just going to read that because Melissa B did a great job. I don't see any reason not to read it because she did great. So the newest information within the last 12 hours, Seth is back from Linville, North Carolina, where he went to follow up in that alleged picture of Sebastian at Wilson Center for Nature Discovery. He believes the boy in the photo is Sebastian. Seth was not allowed to see the surveillance video of the boy believed to be Sebastian, because law enforcement had called the center and told them not to let him see the footage. The footage was turned over to North Carolina Bureau of Investigations, SBI, and they have joined the investigation. A public relations expert named Tony Mathis has also joined the investigation. As of today, he is only representing Seth, but is open to representing Chris and Katie. He has had long conversations with them and is hopeful. Seth and Tony are going to be more selective on which social media they will be granting interviews with, and they will be making a concerted effort to seek appearances on more national news. So far, they have interviews scheduled with Court TV and Nancy Grace. Also, this morning, one of Seth's private investigators, Heather Cohen of Justice Warrior Investigations, has quit the case and is not on retainer any longer. She believes the boy in the picture is Sebastian and thinks that the FBI should be taking the lead in the investigation finally, as it has crossed into another state. Okay. So, let me just pull up in case you had not heard already. The update from Heather Cohen with Justice Warrior Investigations. Okay. Let's see. The first one was Justice Warriors. Good morning. Thank you for your kindness. Many of you noticed how quiet we've been for the last few days, which must be a shock because previously we had been shouting from the mountaintops, so to speak. I apologize for my vague answers and sometimes lack of an answer to all of your messages. You have all been very supportive and do not deserve to be ghosted. So I am going to put this here, and I pray that y'all can get behind the new direction of the case. As you probably already know, Tracy and I came into this case on April 15th. My style of investigating is an in-your-face tactic that is meant to draw people out and get to the bottom of what is going on. We walked into a shitstorm that had been brewing for some time, and things got out of hand. Aside from the public outburst on web sleuths, the public did not know what had occurred behind the scenes. What the public saw was the tip of the iceberg, and I was becoming extremely concerned about how far things would go. Whether any of it actually had anything to do with Sebastian is debatable. Some say yes, some say no. Regardless, someone needed to step in who could calm the storm, and that person is Tony Mathis. Now, I did successfully open a line of communication between myself and the Proudfoots, and I was trying my very best to defuse the situation. However, I was unable to do so, and therefore someone else needed to step in. I wish him the very best, and I agree that although transparency with the public is necessary to some degree, in this case, there are some things better kept close to the vest. I'm going to comment on one thing. Thank you, Question and Crime. Mystery, what an introduction you probably had to me. I do not normally get that steamed up, but I was really fired up. Let's see. I'm going to comment on one thing regarding Katie. I don't know what happened on February 26th, the day that Sebastian seemingly vanished into thin air. However, I've seen some things said about her past that breaks my heart. She is being chastised over something that she had no control over. Unfortunately, we don't get to choose our parents. Please try to have some empathy, at least pertaining to that aspect of all of this. That's all I'm going to say about that. We're going to break this down. Lastly, I've heard and seen many asking if I am still working for Seth. With recent developments and with Mr. Mathis taking over, I am stepping back. Justice Warrior Investigation Services are always available to him if and when he needs us, but we are no longer under a retainer. We do believe the photo is Sebastian. Until we know one way or the other, there isn't much we can do. We'd be thrilled. Let's see, as a private investigator, we can do a lot to help the case along, but we do not have the ability to get warrants, and that is what is needed to gather the evidence necessary to find Sebastian. We will continue to follow the case closely. This is like, so there were two subsequent posts. Another one, I'm not going to read it all, but it was a very empathetic type of post. You can certainly go read it yourself. The next one was like a graphic, and it said, a quote, a man without ethics is a wild beast loosed upon this world. Oh, mystery. I am... well, mystery. I don't know if the word biased is the best phrase to express my point of view about Chris. And maybe you'll stay or maybe you'll go, but I think I've pieced my personal alleged theory together and what I believe my theory to be, so I can get this like right out in the open. And look, if your theory doesn't align with mine, I'm not going to, bash you or shut you down. This is me. My theory is that he was not the one who directly harmed Sebastian, but I do believe that he returned to the home that night and in the middle of the night, late at night, and I believe he made it back to work. But you are absolutely correct that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. So I'm going to break down this statement because I found it very interesting and kind of telling. And I did pick up that she has a different style. And I would imagine that, when you're a private investigator, whether you're for profit, not for profit, or even an investigator from more of a podcast level, like she said she was on some cases, that it's like many other high profile positions when you're working with a family. It's going to be about the personality and how you might click with someone. And in my opinion, I think Seth needs a blend of compassion and also firmness to navigate this situation. Now, that's my opinion. And so we don't know what happened there. I think it was made clear. I read clearly. I have read her responses. She was not, as she's saying, like, I don't think it was like a firing so much as, well, some people said quit. I just think it was severing ties, because of different styles. Now, I don't think, I did listen to another video, and I'm not going to say whose video. And if you know whose video I'm talking about and you enjoy those videos, rock on. That's cool. It's not my business to control who anybody's watching. But they were really hammering in on this whole thing. And I was very surprised that they seemed oddly naive about Chloe. And I don't consider her like somebody who should be an afterthought in this situation. Well, up until as of late, she really hasn't been very public prior to that, but she is extremely active. She's not charging him. She got involved out of the literal goodness of her heart. She is investigating, but she's searching. She's been on the searches. I mean, she is very, very, very emotionally connected to this case and wanting to find Sebastian and bring him home. So in no way, shape, or form do I think she should be considered an afterthought. I don't believe her name should be forgotten. I don't think she really cares who is saying her name as long as Sebastian comes home. I don't necessarily know that she even wanted to be like super out there in the public, but if that's the direction the team took, that's, she probably went along with that. But I thought she did an incredible job trying to navigate things the best she could. And I hope she does not leave the case, because this other person who did this video I'm talking about, they were like talking about Tony Mathis like he's an investigator. He's not an investigator. He is just there to maybe control how off track conversations might get, try to make sure that things aren't going down the super dramatic tangents that they can go in, help keep the focus and really try to reel things in. And I couldn't agree more that they need way more coverage, like big screen coverage. Nancy Grace's shows are like kind of really short and rushed, in my opinion, sometimes. And I watch her show, but they can be really fast and really rushed. And honestly, it was funny because when I first learned of Tamontez Hurt's case, I said, oh my God, I think that's the longest I heard Nancy be quiet, because she let this grandmother just spill her heart out. And so I don't think anybody needs to jump out and start attacking Tony Mathis. We don't know his story. He very well could have lived this situation and has now versed himself in navigating it. He's trying to help. I mean, I don't, I think there's room for everybody in different styles, but that decision is that decision. Well, and mystery, I think, at least what I hope to do, I'm not going to lie, sometimes I get really, really mad. Somebody did comment earlier and they made a comment on a video and they got pretty graphic about some things that were shared from the recorded calls. And yeah, if those things happened, they need to be investigated and something needs to happen. But I don't think the forum was the public. And if Sebastian comes home, this kid's going to face enough trauma, and the entire world heard those things. Really makes me sick to my stomach. And the comment that they made, I can't remember if I hid it or removed it, but I probably will, just because I don't, it's one thing if you're saying a little brief something or making a reference to something, but including all of the graphic nature of certain things that he will, may have done, things like that. It doesn't matter. Just like when Seth talked about, being strong armed into, well, if you want to open this up, and you want to talk about why I don't want Sebastian around Faith, people are going to stop looking for him. Now, obviously, the reality of that is, I don't think anybody is going to stop looking for this child because he was traumatized in his childhood. If he as a step parent had a concern that, they would offend because they had been offended, I don't want to go down all those roads because that is not, it's not finding him. I'm so grateful. Thank you, Karen. Is who got herself tied up. Who is this bullhorn Betty? Somebody tell me, like, does she have a show or something, or who is she? Somebody's got to tell me who Bullhorn Betty is, because I know I have heard it before, but why am I not piecing it together? Tit for tat shack. All right. Chloe's staying. Heather and Tracy are not, but will be available. Yeah. Question in Crime. She and Terry Lynn have been chopping up calls to fit their narrative. How many people do you know get giddy about someone being mad? Jay did. Oh my God, she's worst tragedy pimp on here. She wants, what in the world? Okay, I don't know. Does she have a channel, or is that the name of her channel? I don't know who she is. Mystery, it's clear, like, that I have, I'm not throwing somebody in jail. I'm not a judge nor a jury. I am not going to say beyond a reasonable doubt that I know anything for certain. I can only say where we all have heard, what I think happened. I have a lot of opinions based on what came out of people, their own mouths. But I do have a problem with some of these recordings that are going on, because again, I think it can derail the investigation. I think it can already has now leaked information that people may not have known that the police knew. So persons of interest might now know more than, and might be a little more cautious. So there's that. I also think that it just, I get, a lot of things where, everybody's going to tell me that the sky is orange, and I'm like, it's blue. but I'm not going to repeat it 10 times because in the end, the color, it's what you want it to be, I guess. But yeah, there is a lot of things that are kind of being clipped, and I absolutely believe that it's shock value, it's being sensationalized, it's for entertainment, that it's just not um, it's not helpful when a little bit, like maybe in the beginning, it was maybe helpful to be able to hear some lengthy videos and some of the things that came out of their own mouths, and to get an understanding of what was really going on um, in their home, or their attitudes towards each other, or the relationships among the parents. But at a point, um, now I think it's just like feeding as much out there to keep people coming back, keep people, donating and giving and giving and giving and giving. And, you know, it's like, oh, but at the same time, there's struggles to get money to lodge, the volunteers that might, come with Q and things like that. And it's like, you know, um, to get info. Well, yeah, I agree with you. Question and crime. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's the neighbor's fault, um, and I don't think recording any of it was appropriate. Um, Look, if I'm I'm going through these cases, and if I wanted to, I could easily get the neighbors' phone numbers. Um, but I didn't feel like they were going to tell me a whole lot more than what I already suspected, might have been going on. And yeah, it was a lot more graphic than I expected. But yeah, it did infuriate me, because, as I said numerous times, if it was true, if it happened, where I do feel the neighbors may have been at fault, is there's a, numerous ways you could have stepped in physically. And not everybody would be comfortable with that. Even just shouting and yelling to bring attention to it. Not just calling law enforcement and making a CPS complaint. Um, you could, if you're a woman, you could wait till your spouse is home if you feel more comfortable. If you're a single woman, you could ask a male neighbor and bring it to their attention as to what you saw. You There's a whole lot of things um, that could have been done. Um, SW's case. I guess I need to go and figure out who Bullhorn Betty is, or maybe I don't, because that's just not my cup of tea. Because some of these people I enjoy, some of them I watch because even though I don't enjoy them, there's maybe 5 minutes of valuable information. Um, I Anyways, so I mean, I'm getting a little sidetracked here, but the point of the matter is, Heather's off the case. Tony Mathis, I'm not going to say he's on the case. He is a PR person. It is to Seth doesn't need to spend hours each day on videos. I thought their first run at it, and I have seen him with Caleb Harris's family. And what I do have a little respect for in his style is that it's not a, you can't be here, you can't talk. I'm sure if a family member didn't want to even go in front of the camera, he would be okay with that. But I felt like he answered some questions, and he was able to say them maybe more simply. I think he was able to be a little more cautious with his words. And I think he also still allowed, or not allowed, but you know what I mean, still fielded stuff to Seth for him to answer. But it was clear to me, based on the way Seth answered some of his questions, he was briefer, he was more to the point. And there was less of some of the extra. And I think that kind of helped. It was a more controlled situation. I think the questions moved along faster. You got more questions in, more answers in. I mean, I appreciate your opinion, question in crime. I mean, I just when it comes to minors, um, I am covering a case where a minor um, is survived, thank God, and the parents who have been charged, it's horrific. And their names I am not sharing. My issue here is his name is public. Um, and my belief is, if they wanted to do investigating to help the case, like me, I am doing a plethora of research and work on this. Um, but if you received information such as what I heard, to me, that needs to go to law enforcement. That needs to go to, um, CPS. And we don't know what they really, just because someone says, I told it to them when I was interviewed. We don't know that. Only the police know if they really said that. And so to just jump on and air that, I mean, you have to understand stuff. I mean, for parents to like turn on the internet and they're hearing, um, certain things that I imagine as an autistic child, or as a child who has suffered certain traumas, can't help, can't control, and that is just being broadcast. I have listened to some of these streams and videos, and I hear jokes and snickering and cackling, and and then it's a snicker, a cackle, a really nasty name, then a joke, and a hey, thanks for the $10. Um, they said they did. They said they did. They said they called. Did they? We don't know. We just don't know. Um, if anybody gets charged, then at some point, if that, would become, probably, there'd be testimony to, probably by neighbors, there'd be testimony. And that's the other thing here. If something really happened here, like, am I the only one that thinks about, you got to find a jury in this county? If something happened, you have to find a jury in that county. And you got to hope that you find witnesses that their testimony, so to speak, has not been listened to by 50,000 people. And until that, some of these videos, I suspected, I believed that law enforcement had a lot more than we knew. I didn't need confirmation. I just had a feeling, because it's just too unlikely to me, based on all the research that I've done, that there wouldn't be more. But guess what? That's me. And I'm on here and I'm speculating. I'm saying I think, I hope, I wish. But then you get people directly saying, well, yeah, they came and they did this, or I saw them and they did this, and all this extra stuff. And well, this is why they would have done this, and this is what, and it's like, if And I understand everybody, and it's very similar. Okay, like Trisha said, if you're asking the public for help, I get it. If you're going to ask the public for help, um, or you have just a lot of people invested, um, you're going to say some things. But if it means that, putting too much out there could risk um, finding Sebastian, could risk if Sebastian had passed away that, somebody did something stupid and moved him. Somebody might then realize, wait, they know way more than I thought they did. We're going to Mexico. Um, you know, Potentially arresting too soon where you don't have enough. And, um, somebody walks free that shouldn't. Um, so I have and that's just not including the things that I just think that I disagree that we are entitled. I think we all knew after, we knew early on in the very first handful of interviews that there was a strong likelihood and some confessed abuse in the home. We don't. We don't need to know every single thing, um, horrific thing. And um, I guess I just don't see. It's not that it's a problem to obtain the information. It's what are you doing with the information? Um, Oops, jeez. Sorry, guys. Lost a cord. Okay. Apologize. Um, Tony seemed like a nice guy. We don't know anything yet. We'll see if he helps. But let's be clear, he's not an investigator. Nobody should be attacking him. He's trying to help. He's trying to do his best. The goal is to get Sebastian home. So in my mind, again, I keep repeating, like my focus is where to search next. Um, the SBI is handling the North Carolina sighting and vetting it. And I've heard a lot, well, why is it taking so long? And well, I'm sorry, but it's a visitor center for a mountain. I believe that it takes time. You have to watch the video footage, hope you get a clear tag or clear identifying vehicle information. Then you have to track the people down. You don't know if they were visiting from another state. Maybe they're road tripping, they're on vacation, maybe they're not home and you've not been able to reach them yet. Then you want to go and you want to see this person from the photo in person. And then, so there's a whole lot. Um, no, Bill, it has been confirmed that there's no. Um, so what has been confirmed by the private investigator, at least, was that um, what exactly was confirmed was that at 8 p.m. on Sunday evening, um, it was verified that he was at the campground. Who verified that? I don't know. I don't know if they have surveillance footage there or if the campground people attested to it. And that at 5:15 a.m. he was at work. That is what we know. Do we know where his body, his person was at 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4? That has not been confirmed. And if it becomes confirmed by Chloe, um, I don't think she would make it public. And I definitely don't believe that. I believe law enforcement is well aware of whether or not he was or was not through all those hours, but they're not releasing that information. So we don't know. And I don't think we would know until everything's, if there were ever charges brought down. You're right. I think about it. These people, none, not even Seth or Chris, should be on YouTube on every channel. Katie is on Facebook groups fighting too. Well, and I think that it's evident to me that search it while the media exposure on social, let's not even say that, while the interviews were up amongst the three parents, the search activity on the ground declined substantially. So it is a distraction, in my opinion, from physically searching for Sebastian. It doesn't matter how much you talk. Talking isn't bringing him back. Has it helped me create potential locations? Some. But it absolutely, I absolutely believe that the focus has to be on the search efforts. And my concern is the lack of manpower for the searches. Law enforcement isn't really doing any searches that, as far as for Sebastian physically. I may have saw something about a potential upcoming search. I'm not sure. But other than that, I'm not really aware. I know they're trying to get Q here, but it sounds like they get here and then I don't know if they have volunteers coming from other locations or if they establish volunteers once they're amongst the local community. But they're struggling to find lodging for that. So my concern is I don't feel like they're searching. There's hardly any physical searching happening. And secondly, I think the searches, I'm not saying don't search in Hendersonville, don't search in the subdivision, but there's got to be more manpower outside of that. And almost every single location that I think should be searched that I'm working on is not in Hendersonville. So that's concerning to me. So I don't know. I might figure out like what is a way for me to get to rally some troops that are more local to the, because I don't feel comfortable saying the locations on YouTube because I don't want anything, to be moved or evidence to be taken away. Because what if one of those places is right? But I've been racking my brain since, for the past 2 days. Like, how do I get like people to actually look in these places? And um, so that's the challenge. But I guess if you only search in Hendersonville, how much searching has been happening in the past month, the past 2 weeks? It's really, really upsetting. There's so much talking, but not the searching. And if I could be in every single place on my list, I would be there in a heartbeat. I would. Um, Unfortunately, some places are just going to be easier for me to put my feet on the ground, and some aren't. And hopefully, we can grow a community of cross country volunteers so that when these things happen, we already have at least 10 people in a certain state that can go and put their feet on the ground. But I think this is where the focus has to be. The focus has to be on search. I think it will be the parents. Um I think they will make arrests not long from now, and I do think they have evidence. Um, well, mystery, I think, we don't know. I think the reality is, you've got to have more than suspicion and I mean, people have been convicted on circumstantial evidence. But if you don't have the person, they're hard cases. They're very hard cases to try if you don't have the body. So for me, that's where my challenge is when they reeled back the search efforts. To me, locating him is going to be the ultimate answer, because then we're going to figure out what happened, um, and then we'd see what happens. Question and crime. Well, I had somebody who had been asking if he still had one, and I was not sure if he still had one or not. Yeah. Yep. I see a lot of very spot on, accurate comments here. Um, so I would just say, I think that the refocus needs to be on the locations. In the Michael, yeah, Monkey Vaughn. Yeah, I agree. And actually, Deception Detective also covered the mom and agreed that seems completely innocent. Um, Things absolutely happen, and it is not always the parents' fault. And um, that's honestly, like, it's more likely that a teenager would be a runaway than something nefarious happened. Um, well, I have my thoughts on that, Karen. So, this was my call to action. Um, I am hoping to get some awareness out there. Um, so, I am, and sometimes the live chat disappears when the video is over. So, I'll probably have to repeat this again. Um, if you're in any of those 3 states I just put in chat, and you are knowledgeable about your state and certain areas and uh, things like that, and you're willing to email me, so maybe I can run some things by you confidentially, and that it's not going to end up on social media, and that it's handled responsibly. Um, I could really use some help, um, because I would really like to maybe weed my list down, because nobody wants to go on a wild goose chase. And sometimes you can just kind of discuss a particular location, and somebody really knowledgeable of the area might be able to just tell you right away, like, oh, that's just way too out in the open. There's no way anybody would, you would know, you would see, those types of things. Um, so that's really my call to action tonight is, um, They're oh, sorry, I forgot. Fourth state. I apologize. Actually, question and crime. So what I actually am going to be doing is I'm going to be having like a form that I've been working on that I will then include on the primary of my page. And what that will be is if somebody wishes to quote unquote apply to um, be part of the team, be part of the community on the higher level, whether it's uh, being a physical volunteer searcher, or maybe if there is a case in your state, maybe you have an ATV or a boat or GPR, or maybe you're really tech savvy and you would like to lend some of your technical skills to help with the mountain of research. Um, maybe you're just really good at researching background information, addresses, phone numbers, those types of things. Somebody else reached out to me. They're a genealogist, and so that would be phenomenal. Um, so uh, somebody who can, might just be able to do something behind a computer because that's what they can do. And that can still be a tremendous contribution because it's just endless the amount of paperwork and notes and going to courthouses and getting court records and looking at historic documents to maybe learn about a certain location, or if there's well, I'm not going to get into all that, but and then you got to, so there's a tremendous amount of work, but the goal is to put your feet on the ground. And so, like in the case of elijahvue, um, I have a location, and I'm hoping to get some others that would go and take a look at this location. Um, and I can do that, but I can't get to, like, Tennessee, Mississippi. It's unfortunately just not a realistic possibility for me. Hope 5 years from now, maybe it would be. We'd have to see, but I also think that it's, just more rational and cost effective and things like that, that you have people just scattered in different areas because they know their areas and they know who to ask for help. They know how to rally. So this is going to be, is that like UP, or is that like the main part of the state? Question and crime. Um, so, the goal is to grow this to be something that um, is more than just research, physical. So I've said it. I'm not going to make it out of the next probably 2 weeks. Within the next 2 weeks, I will be physically able to participate in um, searching the places of interest that I have for elijahvue. Um, and the Tamantes Hurt case, that's not out of the realm of possibility. Um, but my concern with that case is I have reached out to family, a couple people who appear to be friends of the family. I'm getting no communication back, and I'm at a standstill, and I cannot progress in any way, shape, or form to try to help this family in any way if I don't have a list of questions that I'm just trying to figure things out to get a handle on the situation. Um, and Karen, maybe that's happened. Maybe somebody has Yeah, I've heard that question in crime from many people. Um, Quentin Simmons one just went to court. Hmm. How would Seth's friend know Sebastian is playing on his account if he doesn't use the headset like mentioned? I'm not sure who Seth's friend is or what that is for, what conversation, what that is referring to. Um, yeah, and the situation is, I could share faces of cases all day long. Um, in case you guys didn't see, there's another um, missing. Was it in Sumner County? Another. I believe I saw a college student in Tennessee. Thank God they found the girl, the teenage girl, Sophia. She was located. Thank God. Um, so that is a blessing. Um, but there are so many cases, and that's why I believe that manpower has to be there, and that manpower can be divided between the people behind the screen and the people on the ground, and I believe you have to have both if you really 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 want to start getting some of these cases closed and people located. This is what happens. There's ebbs and flows. Oh, well, we don't look at this case again for another year and a half, unless a really big tip comes in. Well, I don't know who it was. Might have been Jen Kaufenhofer. Could have been a different person that was talking about a case where, they just walked past somebody's body after searching like 10 different times. And months later, a long period of time later, there she was found. And that's where she had been. But everybody just, even though they had looked and looked and looked, they overlooked. Um, So I think we know that nothing disappears into thin air. There's evidence, there is trails, there's tracks. But the problem is if law enforcement is focused on the investigation and they're not physically searching, and it doesn't, I don't see much about searches. So, and if I do, they're very localized. So this has to change. So we've got to figure it out, and that this is how we speed this up here. The clock just keeps ticking, the days just keep going by, and um, I just, I mean, of course I could be wrong. I just think there needs to be some targeted searches outside of Hendersonville. And yes, I know a couple places that have been searched, but one of them was humongous. So, you know, I am hoping, um, I get some emails. I will, to be safe, because the live chat, like I said, sometimes just disappears. Um, I will, after this is over, I will um, comment my email again. But if anybody is within Wisconsin, Missouri, Tennessee, Mississippi, and are knowledgeable about their areas, um, in the landscapes or maybe landmarks and things like that, and you're willing to be confidential about things, please email me with, okay, well, I'm here in, I'm not going to say us because all this, I got all these like clue cities in my head and locations. And if I say it, I'm just going to put my foot in my mouth. Um, the Attorney General, Karen. Interesting. So, but can the Attorney General, what, I guess I'm curious as to like if the Attorney General is somebody you would involve if you're trying to get some charges pressed, or if we're talking about like to get some further efforts. Um, I think I've heard a few people explain as far as the actual FBI while they are assisting and the Secret Service has been assisting. Um, they only come in if they're requested. Um, if for some reason Sebastian was in another state, that's a whole nother ball game, because you're crossing state lines. But again, they have reference that they're involved, and they've kind of, like, they're involved, they're helping. We don't know. They could be helping a lot more than we know. Um, which is why at this point, we have Chloe, who's been, if you take out just, web sleuth and afterwards, has been pretty quiet about as far as like, giving out a lot of information on the case. Seth is, hopefully only going to, be focusing on more controlled interviews. Um, and law enforcement isn't going to tell us anything. So I think you're going to see the valuable information is going to just decline a lot. So we're not going to get a whole lot of new information unless something major happens. So, in my opinion, you might see a lot of people just kind of making up stuff, or doing crazy things just to keep, their channel alive, on the case. But um, at this point, we're not going to hear a whole lot. So I think the effort and the concern and the care, should be focusing in on clues and things that are going to get us to location. So, that's a situation. That's where we sit with it. We could beat that horse to death, but the reality is that's where we're at. We got to figure out how to get people on the ground and searching these locations so we can move things along. Maybe we'll hear some great news out of North Carolina. We don't know, but you can't just do nothing while you're waiting. So that's about as much as you can really say about what's going on in that case right now. The case of elijahvue, I would like to update you on that. I'm going to continue dropping the videos, going through the court documents on Jesse Vang, and then I will move on to Katrina Bauer's documents. Again, she was just denied a reduced bail. She asked to be released on no bond, signature bond, to an basically like an unknown location where basically she didn't have any network or connections that could, ensure she was kosher. It was an absolutely ridiculous ask. But you always get nervous when that happens. And thank God the judge was like, no, because I think the judge knows what's coming. So I think what Katrina and Jesse did, that we are aware of as far as what they said with their own mouths to law enforcement, which you will continue to hear as I read these documents, it's heinous and evil. And the allegations and the things they haven't acknowledged are even further evil. So I don't know how anybody on the planet can look at that 3-year-old little boy's face and not just want to die. I mean, it's so heartbreaking. So heartbreaking. Just this tiny human who was just put through just so much hell in 3 short years. It took me a while to even be able to start reading the documents out loud because they're so ugly. And I went in to the courthouse and I got a stack of documents on the Tristan and Brittany Hull case, which most people won't be even talking about. But if you go into my playlist and you find the first video I did on it, or maybe the second, and I will be dropping another one soon, going through those legal documents. If they did what is alleged, it is up there with Ruby Frankie, Jody Hildebrandt, kind of evil. And thank God the victim in that case did survive. But as I said before in those videos, I will see that case through to the end and hopefully see the handcuffs go on and the jail door slam. And as I said on the Tamontez Hurt case, I tremendously want to help the family, and I continue to reach out to them. I've not had any word. I have reached out to those that run Facebook groups for him. I have sent a friend of the family member a list of thoughts, ideas, suggestions, guidance. But unfortunately, that is a case that is very upsetting and disturbing because it's losing a path and direction, and with each day that passes, evidence disappears. It's harder to collect video footage, cell phone records. So it's just it's just a bad situation. So it's kind of where like the top 4 primary cases are that I'm working on. I got a massive dump of documents on Stephen Stearns, but I'm not too concerned about him going anywhere anytime soon. So I can table those. I think these 4 cases kind of are at the forefront, but I'm just one person. So it'd be great if we could, help in some way to get, somebody home so that, we can make space for new faces. But I will continue to repeat this. Sebastian Rogers is a beautiful young man, and he deserves everyone's attention and their love and their support. But there's also a whole lot more people that need it too. So even if you're just sharing, trying to stay informed, that's something. And I understand all these things can get really overwhelming to follow. Believe me, I'm living it. Amongst, job and taking care of my family. So it's overwhelming. So I would just encourage you guys, if you ever get bored and need a little something to listen to in your car, or just as background noise while you're doing the dishes, the laundry, or doing whatever, that I have other playlists. All the live streams, typically I try to tag them into the playlists. And you can go into the playlist and you can dig into some of the cases that I am working on. Some of them might not have a lot of videos right now, but some of them are decades old. So there's just a tremendous amount of research before I even start bringing them forward. And we have some like really urgent cases. So unfortunately, gotta kind of prioritize some things. So um, I do continue to just ask for any important information you ever think you need to get to me. Please email me. I do read them. I do try to respond as quickly as possible. I do read the comments. I have no idea what happened, but in the past, since I don't know, it's been like, I don't know, 24, 36 hours. I've had so many comments out of the total blue. So I have to go read more. I've been trying to, acknowledge and read them and answer and things like that. But and they're on all different videos. So I'm not exactly sure like what prompted all that, but it was just the amount of notifications, for comments to respond to was just whoa. So again, if you think you have valuable information or you're willing to be a whole confidentiality, as if it was your own loved one, um, and you're interested in doing any kind of helping in any way, please email me. And in general, I'm going to work to get the form done as soon as possible so I can get it out there and posted. And I will let everyone know when it is posted. But in the meantime, my email is stopthemadnessinfo@gmail.com. So I appreciate, I hope so, Bill. I really hope so. Um, but I appreciate all of you guys, and I hope you guys have a great night. And I'm going to go get some rest. So until next time.